My best friend didn't just betray me. He tried to steal the very company I built from nothing. He forged my signature, rallied the board against me, and even called an emergency vote to kick me out. But just when he thought victory was his, I stood up, smiled, and revealed the truth that destroyed him. That's how Daniel Cross, a millionaire founder, ended up watching his childhood friend Mark Evans get escorted out of the boardroom in shame. But let's rewind, because the betrayal ran deep. Daniel's story began in a cramped apartment above a noisy laundromat. His mother, Maria Cross, worked nights and slept in the afternoon. She kept a jar of coins by the stove for bus fare and medicine. Daniel learned early that if something broke, you fixed it, and if you didn't know how, you learned. He built his first website at 12, his first database at 16, and his first paying app at 19. He never had a safety net, only momentum. Mark Evans lived 2 buildings over. Mark was loud and funny and always seemed to find the one game that everyone else wanted to play. He could make a classroom laugh. He could charm a teacher out of detention. When Daniel's bike went missing one summer, Mark helped him look. Weeks later, Daniel found the bike at Mark's cousin's place, repainted. Mark laughed it off. "Mix up, man," he said. Daniel let it go. That is what he did. He gave people chances. After college, Daniel coded until his hands hurt. He launched CrossTech from a rented desk above a bakery that smelled like warm sugar. First came small contracts. Then came a breakthrough platform that made mid-sized companies run like giants. Investment followed. Awards followed. Reporters called him a quiet genius. When CrossTech began to grow, Daniel brought Mark in, telling him, "You stood by me when I had nothing, so you should share in my success now." He gave Mark a title, a bright office, and a salary that could buy any bike on earth. At first it worked. Mark shook hands and told stories and made people feel good. But power is rain. Some people grow under it and some rot. Mark didn't crave the grind or the vision. He craved the spotlight, the applause, the credit. He liked the photos, the stage, the sound of his own voice in a room that listened. In meetings, Mark would say, "My vision and my plan," and wait to see if anyone would correct him. Few did. They assumed Daniel did not care. Daniel cared. He just did not complain. Maria once warned her son, "A friend who loves your shine will stand beside you. A friend who wants your shine will stand in front of you," she said. Daniel hugged her, laughed it off, and went back to work. The first crack looked like bad luck. A key client paused a renewal without warning. Another shifted a pilot to a competitor Daniel had barely heard of. A partner asked for new terms that made no sense. Daniel's operations director, Alina Ward, brought him a chart with red flags sprinkled like drops of paint. "These moves are coordinated," she said softly. "Someone's setting the table." Then came the call from Priya Shah, Daniel's lawyer. Her voice was crisp, professional, and tense. "Did you sign a transfer of 40% of your personal shares to Mark?" Daniel stood in his office and stared at the skyline. "No. Documents say you did," she said. "Filed last week. The notary is 1L. Carter. The signature looks like yours." "Send it to me," Daniel said. When the PDF arrived, his stomach turned. The curve on the D in his name was almost perfect. The witnesses were names he recognized from a vendor he had never met. The notary seal looked authentic. It was a good forgery. It was not good enough for Daniel. He called Priya back. "We'll challenge it," she said. "But if this is part of a larger maneuver, expect pressure on the board. Expect headlines. Expect a vote." Pressure came fast. Anonymous emails hinted that Daniel had lost focus. A blog posted rumors about CrossTech missing numbers. An investor who rarely called asked for a meeting to discuss leadership continuity. In the office, people began to speak in careful half-sentences when Daniel walked by. Late one night, the building security guard mentioned that Mark had been in the archives after midnight the past 3 Fridays. He said he was prepping for a big board package, the guard said. Mark did not prep board packages. He posed for them. Daniel stared at the forged pages again. The lies stank to him the way burnt oil warns a mechanic something is broken. Sleep thinned to a few hours. Daniel lay awake, hearing the city's sirens rise and fall like a slow breath. In that blue-gray hour before dawn, his mind went back to the bike. He remembered Mark's easy grin and the way he had shrugged off the truth. He remembered forgiving him because that was simpler than facing what it meant. He had done that for years. With Mark. With board members who liked Mark's stories. With anyone who mistook Daniel's quiet for weakness. He paced the kitchen and poured cold coffee. Maybe I made him this bold, he thought. Maybe I taught him I would forgive anything if he called it a mix-up. The thought hurt because it held a piece of truth. He had given Mark a desk and a title and access. He had given him the room to dream, and Mark had used that room to plan a theft. But when anger cooled, clarity stood where it had been. Anger had heat. Clarity had shape. Daniel treated betrayal like broken code. He mapped it, line by line, until the flaw revealed itself. Who pulled the levers? Where were the logs? Who signed what? How would the timeline have to look for the vote to fall against him? He filled a whiteboard with dates and arrows and questions in tidy, even letters. At the bottom he wrote, very small, "Never again." A message pinged from Alina. "You're not alone." A second pinged from reception. Miguel had seen Mark copy a key to the document room. Daniel stared at the phone. A hint of a network. A hint of a backbone. He was not alone after all. Daniel called Victor Cho, a forensic accountant with a mild voice and a talent for making numbers tell the truth. Victor arrived with quiet shoes and 2 laptops. He asked for access logs, expense reports, vendor contracts, and email headers. He did not ask for theories. "Numbers first," he said. "Then stories." Within days, Victor found fractures. Mark had set up consulting contracts with a shell company called North Shore Dynamics, invoices neat and vague, strategy assessment, market insights, leadership transition planning, each payment in the exact amount that would avoid an automatic secondary review. The money flowed from a discretionary budget Mark controlled to North Shore, then onward to a personal account. The account was Mark's. Victor found a second thread. Late-night archive access followed by scans of legacy stock agreements and old board minutes. He traced a series of draft documents edited from Mark's office at 1:13 a.m., 2:09 a.m., 3:51 a.m. He even found a digital fingerprint. An image of Daniel's signature lifted from a past contract and embedded into a new PDF. Daniel and Priya looked at each other. "This is fraud," Priya said. "Not just bad judgment." "Don't show your cards yet," Victor advised. "Let him believe you're on the back foot. He will overextend." Daniel nodded. In the next executive meeting, he thanked Mark for stepping up during a busy season. He asked Mark to lead a presentation on enterprise accounts. He watched him bask in the compliments. Watching, Daniel felt a small, steady victory click into place. Not a win, not yet, but the beginning of one. 2 days later, Mark sent calendar invites for an urgent governance session. The subject line, Leadership Transition Vote. He had lined up proxy commitments from 2 investors who liked his swagger and from 1 director who owed him a favor. He had also leaked to a tech blog that Crosstech will soon announce new leadership. The stock wobbled. Vendors asked for shortened payment terms. In the boardroom, Mark stood by the screen like it was a throne. He pointed to a slide showing lost opportunities, set beside a photo of Daniel accepting an award 3 years ago. "Our founder is distracted," Mark said. "He is sentimental. He is not the man to take us into the next chapter." A director cleared her throat. Eleanor Park, a sharp-eyed independent director, looked from Mark to Daniel. "Mr. Cross," she said. "Response." Daniel folded his hands. "Not yet," he said. "Please continue." It sounded like surrender. Mark's smile widened. The vote announcement came next. Hands shifted toward the little plastic remotes. For a breath, Daniel felt the floor tilt. Not because he would lose the company, that was a battle he had prepared for, but because of what it said about his own blind spot. He had let his heart write checks his governance could not cash. He had made it possible for Mark to hurt him here. Then Mark did what overconfident people do. He overreached. He held up the forged share transfer and said, And with these shares already pledged, the math is simple. Eleanor Park's head snapped toward the page. Already pledged? She said. That is a serious claim. It's done, Mark said. We'll submit final paperwork after the vote. A small noise, perhaps from Priya, perhaps from Daniel, broke the hush. The room felt different. The storm outside shifted again. That afternoon, a blog ran with the headline, CEO Showdown at Crosstech. By evening, Daniel's mother called, voice tight with worry. Are you safe? Maria asked. Do you need me to come? Daniel told her to rest. He sat alone with the city lights crawling across his windows and understood something simple and heavy. If he did not fix this now, the company would survive in the wrong hands, and his people would pay the price. Daniel went back to his whiteboard. He erased the mess and drew 3 clean boxes. Proof, process, people. Under proof, he listed what Victor had found. Under process, he wrote the steps. Chain of custody, legal holds, audit triggers, board notice. Under people, he wrote names. Eleanor Park, Alina, Miguel, Priya, Victor. He added a final name he had avoided writing for weeks. Mark. Daniel printed hard copies. He signed affidavits. He logged evidence. He asked IT to preserve Mark's company laptop under the standard compliance policy. No drama, no jokes. He asked HR to schedule a conversation with the board about whistleblower protections, citing a routine annual review. Nothing flashy, only structure. He also did one more thing. He walked the floor. Not the executive floor, the engineering floor, the support floor, the sales floor. He shook hands, asked about families, listened to worries. He thanked people by name for small wins. People remember who stood with them when the ground shook. That evening, he met with Eleanor Park in the tiny conference room without windows. I don't want a spectacle, he said. I want a record. He slid a slim folder toward her. She read in silence for a long time. When she finished, she looked him in the eye. Bring this to the board. I will back you, but do it by the book. By the book, Daniel said. That's the plan. The next leadership session started with coffee and cold smiles. Mark arrived early and rehearsed the victory face he would give the camera he had invited to capture our new chapter. He did not see the second camera pointed at him, the company's compliance vendor, recording the meeting for the audit file. Before Mark could launch his slide deck, Daniel stood. He did not raise his voice. One housekeeping item first, he said. Our general counsel has requested a brief review of certain transactions before any vote. He nodded to Priya, who nodded to Victor, who rolled a cart forward with a neat stack of binders. Mark laughed. Are we stalling now? No, Daniel said. We're documenting. He tapped the first binder. North Shore Dynamics. Fake consulting. Money flows to your personal account. Here are the bank confirmations. He tapped the second. Archive access logs. Drafts of forged agreements. Here are the metadata prints. And this, he held up a page with smooth fingers, is my signature from a 2019 vendor contract, lifted and pasted into a 2025 transfer you filed last week. The room went still like glass. You can't be serious, Mark said, but his voice had shifted. This is a smear. Priya spoke for the first time. We have already filed a notice with counsel and requested an external audit. Please do not destroy or alter any records. You are on a legal hold. Something flickered in Mark's eyes. A calculation, then a tremor. For the first time, he looked to the door. Daniel turned to the screen. For the record, he said, we will review a short timeline. He clicked the remote. Slide 1, the shell. A simple graphic showed Crosstech North Shore Dynamics personal account. Dates, amounts, arrows. These are not strategy fees, Daniel said. These are withdrawals. Slide 2, the forgery. 2 signatures side by side. On the left, my signature from a vendor contract, he said. On the right, the transfer Mark claims I signed. Identical pixel map on the capital D, identical noise pattern across the curve. Copy-paste. Slide 3, the boast. An email appeared with Mark's name in the header. By next quarter, Crosstech will be mine. Daniel won't see it coming. Gasps dotted the table. Another message came up. Get me proxies. I'll take the chair photo in 2 months. A director swore under his breath. Mark lurched to his feet. Context, he shouted. This is out of context. Victor's mild voice floated across the table. The context is metadata. Those emails were sent from your device, from your office at 1:13 a.m. and 2:09 a.m. Here are the server stamps. Daniel clicked again. Slide 4. The voice. Audio played from a phone recording, captured at a loud bar. Mark's voice, unmistakable. Daniel's a sweet idiot. By next month, I'll own him. I've got the signatures. I've got the votes. Laughter in the background. Glasses clinking. A promise made in arrogance. Now replaying in a room full of consequence. Eleanor Park leaned forward. Mr. Evans, do you deny any of this? Mark's jaw worked. This is a setup. He looked to his allies around the table and found them looking away. Daniel did not gloat. I have one more slide, he said gently. Slide 5, the people. Photos of employees filled the screen. Support agents on night shift, engineers at whiteboards, a janitor mopping a hallway, a receptionist smiling with a bandage on his thumb. Miguel. These are the people who built this place, Daniel said. They deserve governance, not games. Today is not about me keeping a title. It's about protecting their work. Silence. Then Eleanor spoke. Motion to remove Mark Evans from his role. Effective immediately. Pending full external audit and referral to law enforcement. Second, said another director, voice firm. One by one, the remotes flashed green, unanimous. No abstentions. No excuses. Just judgment. Security arrived with professional quiet. Mark banged a fist on the table, then tried a smile that didn't reach his eyes. You can't do this, he said to Daniel, as if Daniel were the one dragging him out. You owe me. Daniel's voice stayed even. I owed you friendship. I gave it. You tried to turn it into ownership. That's where it ends. As the door shut behind Mark, the city storm broke. Rain walked down the glass in soft sheets. No one spoke for a long moment. Finally, Daniel said, We have work to do. Heads nodded. Chairs scooted. The company turned back to its real business. Weeks passed. The audit confirmed everything. News outlets printed the story with words like forgery, kickbacks, and breach of trust. Crosstech lost a few days of calm, then found a deeper rhythm. Clients returned. Employees walked taller in the hallways. The company didn't celebrate. It stabilized. That was better. Daniel visited his mother one Sunday. Maria made coffee and slid a plate of warm bread across the table. You look tired, she said, and kissed his hair like she used to. He told her the truth. He was tired, and he was relieved. He was proud, and he was sad. He had lost a friend, and maybe he had never truly had one. She squeezed his hand. You didn't lose a friend, she said. You lost a thief. Back at the office, Daniel started small reforms with big meaning. No executive could approve payments to shell vendors without an independent review. The archive required two-person access after hours. Emails to the board were logged and summarized quarterly. He set up a scholarship for employees' children and named it after Maria. He kept his door open longer, even on the days when the work was heavy. As for Mark, the story followed the usual path. Friends stopped taking his calls. The car went first. Then the condo. Someone saw him in a strip mall cafe, talking too loudly about a new idea. Maybe he would build something honest one day. Maybe he would not. That was no longer Daniel's job to worry about. One evening, Daniel stood in his office and watched the sky burn orange and then fade. He thought about money and how it fixes many small problems and hides many big ones. He thought about trust, which money cannot buy. He thought about the people who had raised him and the people he now helped raise by leading well. He breathed in the quiet and let it out slowly. Wealth can buy many things, he thought, but not loyalty. That must be earned. And once it is broken, it must be guarded, by process, by boundaries, by courage. He turned off the lights and left the office to the night crew, the quiet workers who, like his mother once did, carried the world when no one was watching. The moral is clear. Betrayal can rise like smoke, but it always falls like ash. True friendship is never proven by opportunity. It's proven by loyalty. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. And if you've got your own karma or revenge story, share a short version below. Who knows, your story might be the next one we tell.